Hello, students. Today we will take up the seventh chapter from your textbook Vistas. The title of the chapter is Evans Tries an O Level. This chapter has been written by Colin Dexter. Colin Dexter was born on 29 September 1930 and he died on 21st March 2017. He was an English crime writer known for his Inspector Morse series of novels, which were written between 1975 and 1999 and were adapted as a TV series. The story Evans Tries an O Level is about a cunning prisoner, Evans, who makes a plan to escape from the prison on the day of his German language O-level exam. The jail authorities, on the other hand, are ready to cover up any sort of risk. Will he be able to succeed in his escape? Let's read and find out. Dramatis Personae. The Secretary of the Examinations Board, the Governor of HM Prison, Oxford, James Evans, a prisoner, Mr. Jackson, a prison officer, Mr. Stephens, a prison officer, the Reverend S. McCleary, an invigilator, Mr. Carter, Detective Superintendent, Mr. Bell, Detective Chief Inspector. All precautions have been taken to see to it that the O-level German examination arranged in the prison for Evans does not provide him with any means of escape. It was in early March when the Secretary of the Examinations Board received the call from Oxford Prison. It's a slightly unusual request, Governor, but I don't see why we shouldn't try to help. Just the one fellow, you say? So here, in the beginning of this chapter, we come to know that in the month of March, the Secretary of the Examination Board received a call from Oxford Prison, and in that call, the Secretary of the Examination replied to the prison governor that it was a strange request that he had requested, but they wanted to help the person, about whom the governor was talking. Now the secretary also confirmed that there was just one person to be helped as told by the governor. Let's read further. That's it. Chap called Evans started night classes in O-level German last September. Says he's dead keen to get some sort of academic qualification. Is he any good? He was the only one in the class, so you can say he has had individual tuition all the time, really. Would have cost him a packet if he had been outside. Well, let's give him a chance, shall we? That's jolly kind of you. What exactly is the procedure now? Oh, don't worry about that. I'll be sending you all the forms and stuff. What's his name, you say? Evans. James Roderick Evans. It sounded rather grand. Just one thing, Governor. He's not a violent sort of fellow, is he? I don't want to know his criminal record or anything like that, but no, there's no record of violence. Quite a pleasant sort of chap, they tell me. Bit of a card, really. One of the stars at the Christmas concert. Imitations, you know, the sort of thing Mike Yarwood stuff. No, he's just a congenial kleptomaniac, that's all. The governor was tempted to add something else, but he thought better of it. he would look after that particular side of things himself. So what has happened over here? The governor confirmed that there was only one person for the examination named Evans. He also told the secretary that Evans started taking night classes in O-level of German language last September, and that he was interested in achieving some type of academic or educational qualification. Now, this O-level examination is an ordinary level examination, O-level ordinary level examination, which is a part of GCE, the General Certificate of Education examination. And this examination is a subject-specific family of academic qualifications that awarding bodies in England usually and several other countries like Sri Lanka and all, they confer on students. Okay. So the secretary asked the governor whether Evans was good at studies, was he any good or not. Okay. To which the governor replied that Evans was the only one who attended the classes. So he took individual tuitions. Okay. So we can infer that he received individual tuition for the said course. Further, the governor adds on that taking such a class outside the prison would have cost him a packet, which means that such a course would have cost Evans a lot of money. It would have been costly for him if he would have opted for such a course outside the prison. Now, on hearing this, the secretary agreed to give Evans a chance, and the process of the examination, then the governor asked the process of the examination, to which the secretary replied that he would send all the forms required for the examination. Now, the secretary then asked the prisoner's name, and the governor replied that his name was James Roderick Evans. So, this is the full name of Evans. Now, here the secretary also sought clarification whether Evans was a violent sort of a person or not, to which the governor said that there was no such criminal record found, and Evans was a nice, pleasant guy, and he was bit of a card. By this he means that Evans was a bit humorous and he was a bit witty, clever person. And the governor also mentions that Evans was a star at the Christmas musical performances, concerts, which used to be held in the prison. So he was a star kind of person, and he compared Evans to the comedian Mike Yarwood. Because why? Because of his copying skills. So Evans could imitate very well. He had the skill of imitations, of copying people. So he the governor compared him to Mike Yarwood. Okay, further he also added that Evans suffered from kleptomania, which is the urge to steal. So he had this problem or habit of stealing things, and this is the only thing which he says that this is the only problem that he has. Otherwise he was a very nice, charming person. Now then it's told to the readers that the governor wanted to tell something more about Evans, but then he decided that he would himself keep a check on Evans and all of his other activities in the jail. Okay, further let us read. Presumably, said the secretary, you can arrange a room where no problem. He's in a cell on his own. If you have no objections, he can sit the exam in there. That's fine. And we could easily get one of the parsons from St. Mary Mag's to invigilate. If that's fine, yes. They seem to have a lot of parson there, don't they? The two men chuckled good-naturedly, and the secretary had a final thought. At least there's one thing. You shouldn't have much trouble keeping him incommunicado, should you? The governor chuckled politely once more, reiterated his thanks, and slowly cradled the phone. Evans. Okay, so what has happened here? The examination secretary asked the governor if he could arrange a room for Evans's exam, to which the governor replied that there was no such problem because Evans was in his own lockup. So he had a separate cell of his own. He was there in a very separate room from the other prisoners. So they could conduct the exam there in his cell only if the secretary had no problem with it. Now to this the secretary found it suitable, and the governor also told him that they would call a parson, a priest from a nearby church named Saint Mary Max, which is a church in England, and this parson would keep a check on Evans during the examination. So this parson would be from Saint Mary Max, and he would be an invigilator for Evans's exam. So the parson would be there in Evans's cell as his invigilator. Then towards the end of the conversation between the governor, jail's governor, the prison's governor, and the secretary of the examination, the secretary laughed. Both of them shared a laughter that the church had a good number of priests and that one could be assigned the job of supervision as an invigilator. Now at last the secretary questions the governor that if it was easy to stop Evans from communicating with other people or the other person. So incommunicado here means a one who is detained of any kind of communication with other people. Okay, so he wanted to make sure whether Evans was allowed to talk to someone, or whether the prison authorities would take care of keeping Evans away from any kind of communication from with anyone. So the governor again, then they laughed, and the governor thanked the secretary again, repeated his thanks for accepting his request of letting Evans give the examination, and he then put the receiver of the phone back on rest, and he called for Evans. Okay, further let us read. Evans the break, as the prison officers called him. Thrice he had escaped from prison, and but for the recent wave of unrest in the maximum security establishments up north, he wouldn't now be gracing the governor's premises in Oxford, and the governor was going to make absolutely certain that he wouldn't be disgracing them. Not that Evans was a real burden, just a persistent, nagging presence. He would be all right in Oxford, though. The governor would see to it personally. And besides, there was just a possibility that Evans was genuinely interested in O-level German. Just a slight possibility. Just a very slight possibility. At 8:30 p.m. on Monday, 7 June, Evans's German teacher shook him by the hand in the heavily guarded recreational block just across from D Wing. Guten Glück, Evans. Pardon? I said good luck for tomorrow. Oh, thanks. Danke schön. You haven't a cat in hell's chance of getting through, of course, but I may surprise everybody, said Evans. Okay, now here we come to know for the very first time that Evans had escaped from prison thrice. Okay, he had tried to escape from the prison thrice before, and due to the recent unrest in the highly guarded areas of the north, he would not be allowed to try any kind of nuisance in the Oxford prison. And also the governor of the Oxford prison would do absolutely anything to make sure Evans wouldn't escape from the prison under his watch. Because if he did escape, if Evans was able to escape from this Oxford prison under the supervision of the governor, then it would be a huge disgrace to the governor. Further, it's written that Evans was not a burden but just a persistent, a nagging presence. So his presence brought a continuous irritating and uncomfortable feel to the prison authorities. Okay, but he wasn't a real burden. So the governor had planned to supervise Evans personally in the Oxford prison in order to make sure whether he had something to escape, whether he would take help of someone or something in order to escape from the prison. So he himself made sure that he would personally supervise Evans and his cell. Then it said that it was possible that Evans was actually interested in adding up to his qualification by learning O-level German, or I would say by learning German language. Further, it's also told that on the 7th of June, Monday at 8:30 p.m., the German teacher shook hands with Evans at the high security recreational block, which was across the D wing in the prison, and the teacher wished him luck in German language. He said it, but Evans, again, he could not understand it, what the professor said. And later Evans realized the meaning of the German words spoken by the teacher, and then he thanked the teacher again in German. And on this, the teacher commented that Evans was not at all prepared for his exam, and he says, "You haven't a cat in hell's chance of getting through." By this he means that Evans did not even had the slightest chance to pass his German exam. To which again, towards the end, we read that Evans replied that it was possible that he cleared the exams and his positive result would surprise everyone. Okay, further let us read. At 8:30 the following morning, Evans had a visitor. Two visitors, in fact. He tucked his grubby string vest into his equally grubby trousers and stood up from his bunk, smiling cheerfully. "Morning, Mr. Jackson. This is indeed an honor." Jackson was a senior prison officer on D wing, and he and Evans had already become warm enemies. At Jackson's side stood Officer Stephens, a burly, surly-looking man, only recently recruited to the profession. Jackson nodded curtly. "And how's our little Einstein this morning, then? Wasn't he a mathematician, Mr. Jackson?" "I think he was a Jew, Mr. Jackson." Evans' face was unshaven, and he wore a filthy-looking red and white bobble hat upon his head. "Give me a chance, Mr. Jackson. I was just going to shave when you bust in." Okay. So the next morning at 8:30, Evans was visited by two men. So he tucked his dirty string vest into his dirty trousers and he stood up from his bunk. Bunk is a bed that is attached to a wall, and he stood up from his bunk. Then Evans greeted Mr. Jackson cheerfully and said it was an honor for him that Mr. Jackson had himself visited in his cell early in the morning. Then it's told about Jackson that he was the senior prison officer of D wing. We had also read in the characters when we read towards the beginning of this chapter. So Jackson was the senior prison officer of D wing, and both Jackson and Evans were warm enemies already. Then about Mr. Stephens, it's told that he was a newly appointed officer and he was a strong looking man, and he had come along with Mr. Jackson to the cell of Evans. Now Jackson greeted him briefly and then asked him about his well-being and made fun of him by calling him Einstein. Okay. So he kind of made fun of Evans by calling him as Einstein, and Evans replied in a similar way by pointing him out that Einstein was a mathematician. Wasn't he a mathematician? He says, and then said that he thought that he was a Jew. Now, Evans had not shaved, it's told, and he was wearing a very dirty hat on his head. And he asked Jackson to excuse him as he was going to shave. He was about to go and shave his beard when both of these officers entered his cell suddenly. Okay. So, we'll cover up till here. Please go through the portion that we have covered today. Mark your doubts. We'll take all your doubts in your next session, and we'll continue with this same chapter in the next session as well. Thank you, everyone.